The Cutty Sark is just beyond 6 miles. And then the course takes them onto Surrey Docks, where they enter after about 9 miles and leave at 11.
And I'm just wondering if nowadays the runners are getting much more used to running those longer distances, that the best runner, i.e. the best 10-kilometre or 10-mile runner, is actually the one that wins the marathon.
I bet Steve Jones might argue with you about that, as to whether who's the best 6-miler, Ron?
Indeed, but I think the great truism is that the standards of marathon are going up as more and more class 10,000-metre runners come into it. And they don't need too many runs at it to show that they've got the ability, because their training includes so much distance work. There's not one of the men in that pack that's run less than 100 miles a week in preparation for this race. And many of them did that sort of running plus quality running as 10,000-metre runners. And Lopez has shown them the way. And Lopez, incidentally, is 38 years of age. And many of those athletes there regard him as the greatest runner in the world. Now, coming out of that pack are some great 10,000-metre runners who've gone up and have grasped the 26 miles, 385 yards of the marathon and are bringing the standards down all the time, as indeed are the women. So great cross-country background, great 10,000-metre background, and the move up, the transition to marathon, is the one that's bringing the standards down.
Dropping back now to the Cutty Sark area in the 6.5-mile mark. They're fairly piling through there. You can probably spot your friends or one or two familiar faces there. Well, Woodhouse has made another break. The interesting thing is the last mile time I gave you was 5:01. That was when they had to turn left over the rampant Cutty Sark, which clearly slowed them down. But suddenly, in the mile from 7 to 8, he's gone with a 4:44 mile and has stretched them out again.
Well, David, while we look at Chris Woodhouse doing impressive running here, there's incredible running going on in the women's race. We've got a time from John Disley, the course director, for Ingrid Christensen. She's gone through 5 miles in 26 minutes and 22 seconds, which works out at 2 hours 18 pace for the marathon. So unless she slows down dramatically, which, you know, maybe she's tempting Providence there by going that quickly, but that is astonishing running for a woman.
I'm sure, Brendan, she's going to benefit by running with the men. You know very well how she buckled almost when Charlie Spedding overtook her, when she was going along sailing nicely, but suddenly Charlie appeared alongside and was going that much faster that it psychologically was a bit of a blow. Now, she hasn't got that blow now. She's running with good class athletes. They'll be nursing her on her way, and there's every chance that this course record could be broken, and indeed the world's fastest time.
2:18 for a woman is so fantastic and so much ahead of a brilliant already world record from Joan Benoit that you've got to have your doubts about it already.
I share those doubts, Brendan. Joan Benoit's world record time set in 1983, 2 hours 22 minutes 43 seconds. She's running 4 minutes faster than that, and somewhere surely she'll have to pay for it. But this is one of the fastest marathon courses in the world, living up to the claims of both Chris Brasher and John Disley, both Olympic athletes themselves, the course organizer and race director. And Woodhouse there seems to be he's searching for a drink. I thought he was just slowing down a bit, and he got tied up with the wheelchair athlete Kevin Breeden. Kevin Breeden, who I think actually, if I'm not sure, didn't win the race last year. He was certainly well up.
He's the fastest man on the course, though. 2 hours, 22 minutes, Kevin Breen. And he's the leader at the moment. These fellas, too, doing 100 miles a week. And not only are they in tremendous condition, but they've honed their chariots of fire to perfection. These are special chariots that they're riding on. Alastair Hutton just taking a drink. Another fine cross-country runner and 10,000-metre runner, the Scot in the middle. I can remember seeing him run the 5,000 metres and 10,000 metres in the Scottish Three-Age Championships on consecutive days and winning them both handsomely. He's been a stalwart to cross-country and 10,000 metres for Scotland, a runner in the Commonwealth Games, but he's been moving up in longer distances, and if there's an outsider, as we were saying earlier, that is not one of the top 6, then Alastair Hutton to run a very fast time today, running alongside Charlie Spedding and Steve Jones, and this tall American who's a 2 hour 12 man, then he could make a breakthrough. Good to see Trevor right back. 14, there he is, on the outside. And Wilson Waigwa, the head waiter, has dropped off the pace just a little bit. This remarkable Kenyan, who's now 32 and can run everything from 1,500, well, from 800 metres really, up to the marathon distance.
Incidentally, the wheelchair athlete we saw earlier as the leaders overtook him was last year's winner, Kevin Breen. He's got a best time for the marathon of 2 hours 22 minutes, which is going a bit. Pat Peterson of America there, Steve Jones just behind him, Charlie Spedding's there as well. Number 46 is Bus of Poland. He's been with the leaders all the time. Hutton's right there, Hurler's there as well. Who's that just tucked in there? Number 53 appearing for the first time. That's Taikanen. I suspect one of the Finnish athletes he is, in fact, and he's run 2 hours 11:15, so he's very useful indeed. Trevor Wright right with those leaders as well. Martin McCarthy is there. This is a brave run, though, by Chris Woodhouse. He's really taken them on, been unafraid of the pace.
Well, actually, David, the pace is staggering. We hadn't really noticed it creeping along there because he's been pushing it along. But they've gone through 9 miles in 44 minutes and 6 seconds, which works out almost exactly 2 hours 8 minutes for the marathon. So that's Steve Jones's world best time until yesterday that Chris Woodhouse is running at.
Well, the weather forecast wasn't too good for today. It was going to be showers, I heard yesterday at lunchtime, and a strong northeasterly wind, but it's turned out quite well. Well, the view from the helicopter of the leaders, and you can see right on the right-hand side of the picture, the leader. And he's got, what, it must be 30, 40 metres. Chris Woodhouse. And that's the order at the moment. But there are more in the leading pack than that. And of course, second down to 8 and probably second down to 12, covered by about 2 seconds.
But a marvellous picture.
The leaders just leaving Surrey Docks, I think, there, and approaching Jamaica Road, where you saw the Pearly Kings and Queens. And that is at about 11 miles. But we should have the 11-mile time in just a moment. But the mile pacing seems to be very, very uneven. We're just having a check back on it at the moment, but Brendan Foster, the last mile was running 5:02, so they went through 10 miles in 49:08, still inside 2:09, but again, it slowed again, some 7 seconds, and from the previous mile, some 18 seconds.
Well, they've run some quick miles and then they suddenly slow down. They've got 2 miles in the last 10 miles. They've run on over 5 minutes, which is not reflective of the kind of pace they were running at right at the beginning and then in the middle. But I mean, I just wonder whether going around the Cutty Sark, twisting and turning, going over that ramp, that might explain it, because really they are running very, very quickly. They're running about 2 hours 8.5 minute pace, which is, as I said, very, very close to Steve Jones's former world record until yesterday. But the world record, I think, is disappearing out of the window because that was such a tremendous run of Lopez yesterday.
Yeah, just a note for the aficionados. When Steve Jones ran that Chicago Marathon, at 10 miles, his time was 48 minutes, 46 seconds.
Graham, before they're here, roughly.
Oh, the band at Jamaica Road will have the runners in sight in just a moment.
2 to 3 minutes.
We just had another mile time. Between 10 and 11 miles, the mile was run in 5 minutes dead.
2 to 3 minutes. Our leading runners will be coming through.
And the information being packed to the crowd. And as I told you at the start, vast crowds watch this London Marathon. It's estimated that there must be over 1 million line the streets.
Nice to see ya, to see ya. Oh, come on, you can do better than that. Nice to see ya, to see ya. Lovely.
There'll be quite a welcome for the boys as they go by. And they're going to be going by there for an awful long time, because the distance now between first and last must be something in the region of 40 to 50 minutes. Because the last man, the Italian that we saw, can't be much beyond the 2 mile mark.
Give them a cheer as the winning board comes through. This is the leader board. 55 minutes, 47 seconds. Here we go with something for the winners.
Actually, it looks as if the Derby boy may well have been caught there.
Back off the road.
Can't get the shot of him there.
Can't see you cheering.
But that was the chasing group, and he has been caught. Woodhouse 34. Patterson on the far side, or Peterson of the United States. Then Charlie Spedding, Steve Jones, Hurler, Jorgensen of Denmark. And they're beginning to pile it on now as they go on their way towards Tower Bridge. Now, Tower Bridge is just beyond the, just short of the halfway stage. It's about 12.5 miles. Wilson Waywell there on the back of the pack. The speed merchant, and he's hanging in there well. I think Mike Grattan has just lost touch with the leaders. Mike, who was the winner in 1983. Coached by Cliff Temple, he's had a lot of back trouble and injury problems since, and certainly not back to his best, and he's finding this pace very, very hard, and noticeably too, although it's a cool morning, he's sweating very, very heavily indeed.
That's right. I mean, Mike Grattan really looks as though he's struggling. If you struggle about 10, 12 miles in a marathon, then you've got problems. But coming back to the sensational running I was talking about earlier, we've now got a 10-mile time from Ingrid Christiansen. She's gone through 10 miles in 53 minutes, 29 seconds, which is still under 2 hours 20 pace. 53 minutes and 29 seconds for 10 miles. I'd be quite happy with that myself these days.
Actually, the next chance we'll get to see the leader in the women's race, who's well inside world record pace, will be at